four roles of lawmakers, which include enacting laws, approving the national budget, carrying out oversight roles on the executive, and auditing government expenditure, and articulating the views of their constituencies to improve service delivery. But critics of pain that MPs have shirked their responsibility as Parliament has turned into an appendage of the executive that only meets to rubber stamp decisions of the executive. The 11th Parliament will bulge to 514 MPs and increase the cost of administration by 50 billion shillings. According to a survey undertaken by Sauti za Wananchi, close to half of citizens, 47% to be particular, see staying in touch with constituents, the constituency, as an important duty of an MP, including a quarter, which is 26%, who put this ahead of all other duties of an MP. A similar number, which is 45%, see communicating constituencies' needs to the government as an important duty of MPs, including those 21% who see this as an MP's most important role. These two duties are ranked well ahead of any other by citizens. Substantial numbers of citizens also see the role of MPs as including giving material assistance to constituencies, which is 21%, addressing citizens' concerns during parliamentary debates, and asking questions to ministers. Working to create or amend laws is 16%, and giving advice to constituencies is one of also the key things that the citizens spoke about in this survey. But before I bring in the panel of experts, let's get vox pops from the public. Thank you.
My name is David Klesa. The role of an MP, I think, should mainly be advocacy, legislature, and improving on existing legislature. For example, I think that when an MP sees that there is a loophole in what's been existing, then it's their role to come up with solutions to the loopholes. We've had challenges, especially in the health sector, in a lot of service delivery, and I think as an MP, they should look at not only pushing new changes like reforms, but also encouraging other MPs. So part of it is like lobbying and selling their position to other legislatures, because in the end it's a vote. Then ideally, I think in the future it should be encouraged in Parliament to be more creative, bring about more ideas, instead of fixing what has been, making it a bit better, but coming up with more ideas and solutions to current problems.
They are called MPs, and when they are looking for votes, this is what they tell people that they are going to make them good laws. But in most cases, they have currently MPs very different stories. That they are going to make them people roads, they are going to bring them water, they are going to bring them money. Which citizens want to hear easily. But not knowing that that's not their role. That they are going to build hospitals, schools, no. Then after showing the citizens, they come and find it hard to bring those roads and schools, which is not their role. So eventually they end up crashing with the voters. So the problem is with them telling them, assigning them wrong assignments, themselves wrong assignments. The forthcoming Parliament, it's not different from others. It's going to be the worst. Because they are coming with Parliament for the new role, which has never been in history, the role of a parliamentarian, to make money. This time they are not coming to make laws. They are coming to Parliament to get rich. And since most of them are very young and not very okay financially, they are really in for big money.
I'm called Gladys, and talking about the issues of the MPs, I think what an MP is supposed to do is supposed to develop like a home district, And besides that, it's supposed to bring in, like, let me say, change to the place. What the previous MP didn't do, is supposed to do it. And as they are going to swear in, at least they should show some change to us. And be the voice to the voiceless who are behind there. You know, very many people are not able to reach where they can get help, but at least they should do it for the others. At least some have been doing so, and the others were just relaxed, of which we are not expecting it this time. At least they should do something for their people.
Amanya gange bampita Tony Promoter. Nze ndowooza member of parliament yenna yandibadde asooka n'amanya ebyetaago by'ekitundu kye kyasavinga, then n'abikolako accordingly, kubanga abantu ab'enjawulo babeera n'ebizibu eby'enjawulo. So member of parliament yenna yandibadde akola ku bizibu byabo abantu bennyini basavinga. Nsuubira mu kisanja kino bagenda kukola, sisuubira kubanga tebajja kukola, because buli muntu naddala kati bano ab'omwaka guno bali fresh nnyo, bavubuka bato nnyo nnyo, bajja kwagala bakomewo. So nsuubira bagenda kukola, tebasobola butakola. I
am Isabi Alan, and I am a lecturer in Chambuko University. It is generally known that the role of an MP is just to legislate laws. We have also seen them increasingly participating in activities to do with monitoring government programs by constituting a number of committees. There are some committees that have really featured so much, including the Public Accounts Committee, to put government institutions to accountability of the public funds. But of course, we appreciate they also have I will say limitations and a number of issues that need to be addressed. For example, when we look at those committees, I think they have some partial powers to expedite their duties. And two, it seems like some individuals, either somewhere or in government, big fish that cannot be touched by those committees. And this compromises their duties as committees and members of parliament. I suggest they need to be given more mandate and powers beyond that, so that we have more independent and really outstanding institutions performing duties for the good of humanity and service delivery. And maybe basically I would also cite a number of issues. We have seen the recent parliaments that have moved out getting into corruption scandals. I'm interested in seeing a parliament that is passing a law without anything like they got an extra pay. Why should always get an extra pay? And then the other issue that is really tempting to our parliament and should be addressed is the issue of, I think we can call them being egocentric. They are driven by egocentric motives rather than corrective motives, all really serving for the good of service. For example, we see the parliament, they got a lot of extra money on top of their official payments. For them, they reinforce their mind that there is no taxation on that money. And now for us down here, even when you get 10,000, it is subject to 10% taxation. So I say parliament that is supposed to make laws that really harmonize society, equity and justice, also having some selfish agenda, and therefore fronting their selfish agenda at the expense of the interests of the general public. And this is something that has to be addressed. If we are to have an independent and really a house that is going to be pro-people and all the legislations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Good evening, viewers. This is Citizen Voices, and I'm your host, Emmanuel Mutaiziwa. Today we'll be discussing the role of a member of parliament. Our hashtag is amplifying Citizen Voices. We have a panel of three, and amongst them is John Asimwe, who works with Parliament Watch, Kasim Nsimbe, who is the Principal Information Officer at Parliament, and our regular panelist, Mary Nanyanzi, who works with Sauti za Wananchi. We've had the views of the people on the streets. They're very passionate about the roles of MPs. They've been very candid about what they feel the MPs should be doing. And Marie, it appears that the roles of an MP are quite at odds with the expectations of their constituencies. We've had it clearly in the Vox Pops, where some of these folks are saying they expect members of parliament to give material assistance. They expect them to build roads. And largely this is not what is expected as a member of parliament. Theirs is much more to do with, coming to parliament, bringing the, pertinent issues before the floor of parliament, articulating the concerns of the constituencies and the people at the grassroots, and doing oversight. You've been conducting a survey. What are the results of that survey? What does it communicate?
Okay. Thank you, Emmanuel. Yes, we have conducted a survey at Taweza. This was done in November, December last year, just as we're going through the campaigns and electioneering process. And at this point, we wanted to just understand what is it that citizens know about the role of the MP, what are their expectations. So briefly, we did see that the key thing that most citizens were mentioning was that the MP is supposed to keep in touch with his constituency or his or her constituency and constituents. That is the key thing. Then secondly, communicate the constituents' needs to the government. So 47% mentioned the first one, and then 45% mentioned the second one. But when we look at those that mentioned it as a first mention, 26% are the ones that say that the role of an MP is to keep in touch with their constituents, and then 21% is that the MP is supposed to take the constituents' needs to the center. So for me, when I look at this, it's sort of a puzzle. I would expect that it comes in one package, that you keep in touch with the people, and then take those needs to the government or where that their concerns are needed. Then the other we saw is that 10% said that the role of an MP is to work or create or amend laws. Then fourth, they said that giving material assistance to the constituents. And we've seen that in the Vox Pops as well. So it looks like the issue of giving material support is really high on the agenda for most citizens. And there is a need to really understand what are the expectations versus the reality, because short of that, people will continue having that mentality that parliament is just to rubber stamp, parliamentarians haven't done anything for us, and also heaping a lot of expectations on the MPs who have probably promised things that they will not be able to deliver.
To bring in Kasim, one of the people that we speak to says, in his view, he says this is going to be the worst parliament. Now, we are moving away from a very large size of parliament. We're even bringing in more members of parliament. And we're going to have 514 members of parliament. A watchdog organization has done a study that shows that actually with the new size, MPs during debate can only be allocated a paltry 2 minutes to be able to debate. Now, we also see a decline in the level of articulation of issues, in the quality of debates. How are the people's views, how are the people at the grassroots, how are their views going to be represented in parliament when we're seeing a decline in the quality, when we're seeing a very large size of parliament, and the allocation is not adequate enough for them to be able to articulate these issues?
Thank you, Emma, and the team. One, I need to correct the figures. The number of members of parliament to be sworn in starting Monday is 529. Oh,
so it's even higher.
It's 529, excluding ex-official members of parliament, because there's a provision for ex-official members of parliament. Okay. But then, if we go back to the elections, everyone went to the polls to have a representative, because it's a representative democracy. Every person went to the polling station and said, yes, this time around, I want to vote for my MP. I want to vote for an MP who speaks my language. I want to vote for an MP who understands the needs of our constituency. So I actually don't think that it will be the worst parliament if the voters are saying the people we voted for are the ones who think like us. And then we gave them an opportunity to go and speak for us in the August House. Then I think it will be a good parliament. It can't be a false start. What we need to know is we don't have an institution that trains people to become members of parliament. Everyone learns on the job. The moment you vote for my classroom teacher and you've given him the opportunity to go and serve in parliament as our representative, so he has to transform from being a classroom teacher in one primary or secondary school to become a national legislator. When they come to parliament, they're not going to pass laws, pass budgets for their constituencies, for their 2-3 counties. No, they are passing the national budget. So you might find that during the period of 5 years, the national budget has been able to capture 3 or 4 out of the 10 roads in that constituency. The Member of Parliament is not going to be given resources for road construction. No. Resources will be given to the Ministry for Works. It's the responsible ministry. So the role of the Member of Parliament will be to lobby to ensure that the list of roads that the Minister for Works is handling this financial year includes a road from his constituency, but he will not get the resources. The role of a member is misunderstood. We think the Member of Parliament is a moving bullion van, and he has all the resources available at his disposal. No, that is wrong. The reason why members of parliament are not performing maybe up to 100% is because we give them too much. Even what should ideally belong to local governments is a role given to the member of parliament.
In your view, what should be, how should we gauge the performance of a member of parliament?
Definitely the performance of a member of parliament should be gauged basing on, one, the constitutional roles of the member. Legislation, appropriation, oversight, representation. Representation is key here because every member represents a constituency. So the member should speak the language that the constituents think he should speak. If you come from Masaka and maybe there is a banana wilt, the people in Masaka are interested more in listening to the member bringing banana wilt to the floor of parliament as a matter of national importance, and it is addressed by government. The member for Kampala will talk of street lighting, will talk of garbage collection, because they come from different constituencies. So all the different needs meet on the floor of parliament. And the good thing, every member, even though you said the numbers are big and they have a short time to debate, every member has a chance to speak on the floor of parliament. There's an item on the floor called Matters of National Importance in every sitting of parliament. So any member has the opportunity to present the unique needs of their constituencies on the floor of parliament.
To bring in Asimwe, there's evidence that the quality of debate in parliament is languishing in the basement. And if you read the old Hansards, you'll see there's quite evidence that the quality has declined. And you run this watchdog organization, Parliament Watch. Do you have any hope that with the numbers increasing to 529 in the 11th Parliament, we'll see an improvement?
Thank you. Thank you, Emma. On whether we'll see an improvement, I am also looking forward to see to it how certain things will turn out. But maybe the most important thing to note here for the citizens to also understand what exactly happens in Parliament is if we're going to look at the debate on the floor specifically, then I guess we'll be missing out on the point. Because one, if you have followed Parliament critically, you will know about 90% of the work that comes or the discussion that comes to the floor is done at the committee level. And what does that mean? at the committee level, the member from Katakwi, the member from Masaka, the member from Kisoro, if the member belongs to the Committee on Defense and the matter is about defense or police or whatever it is related to security, every member will have an opportunity to have their voices heard at the committee level. But also there's an unwritten rule that allows every member of parliament of the 529 to attend any committee, irrespective of whether they belong to that committee or not. What does that mean then? That if the matter before ICT committee or before education committee speaks directly to what happens in my constituency, then a member who belongs to the gender can attend the education committee meeting, presents the views. The only thing the member is not supposed to do is to vote on that matter before the committee. So again, members do have an opportunity to attend any matter that is before parliament. Now, when we come back to the floor, the rule number 1 that is also not written is that after the chairperson of the committee has read the report of the committee, members from that committee will not given an opportunity to speak. Then we'll have the rest of the members to contribute to the same matter. But the challenge of the 2 minutes, even me, if you give me 2 minutes right now, I'll first say thank you, and before I even finish, you will cut me off. So what we are looking forward, and I hope Kasim will be able to take on some of these matters, is that can we have a proper mechanism that will ensure that a matter, say for instance from a specific political party, if they have a different agenda, they discuss at the caucus or discuss at the chief whip office that, you know, as DP or as NOP, as FDC, this is what we want to raise. So when we get to the floor, it is not Asimwe John or Kasim Simbe to raise the matter, but whoever is given time to speak, it is more than the 2 minutes and represents the views of a specific, so either regionally or political parties.
Yeah, to bring you, Marie, to bring you back into the debate. Your research talks about the expectation of constituencies in regard to material assistance. And this perhaps is inextricably linked to the monetization of politics. What do you think, in your view, is informing the need that the people at the grassroots expect their members of parliament to contribute for tuition, to contribute for weddings, to contribute for burial expenses? And in turn, how is that likely going to affect the role of a member of parliament who is coming into parliament and has spent lots of money? I'm told a seat costs around 600 to 300 million shillings. So he needs to, plow back that money he's spent. Then how does that affect the process of legislation?
Okay, thank you, Emma. So from this data that we collected, we wanted to also understand what are the widespread promises that the different nominees were giving to the people, because if at all you promise people ambulances and so on, and or maybe you've even had some people who are campaigning saying that this person has already achieved 80% of their manifesto. But when you look at it, what is the manifesto they're talking about? That manifesto was largely about constructing roads, placing an ambulance at the health center and so on. But the data shows us that when we asked what has your MP or the person campaigning recently done, mentioned in their campaign, in your constituency, we see that 41% said that the good roads, they said they would ensure that they deliver good roads. Then 25% said that they would improve the health services. Then 19% would bring clean water. 12% build schools, create jobs, electricity, improve education, and the list continues: fight corruption, improve infrastructure, improve agriculture, support people against poverty, and so on. But there was no mention of someone that will go and actually represent the citizens' views in parliament. So it shows us that already those that are probably going to parliament, there will be a lot of work probably needed to bring them on board as to what their role is, because as per the campaigns, they were delivering different things altogether. Maybe the question would probably ask, is there a way that in future, going forward, that this can be controlled, that if at all someone is going to stand for a certain position, you first sensitize them, educate them on what exactly they'll be able to deliver? Because in the end, if someone gets into parliament and they promised good roads or improved health services, and that does not happen, then there'll be a lot of expectations that won't be met, which I think is a cycle that we've been seeing over and over, and it's about time that this is addressed.
Kasim, the issue about apathy, we've seen chronic absenteeism in Parliament. I guess if we see the records of the first Parliament, or let's even say the sixth Parliament, people are very enthusiastic to attend Parliament. What's the problem exactly? Going by figures, I think averagely the male legislators, only 19% attended plenary sessions, and about 42% attended committee sessions. Why can't Parliament come up with a system of a carrot and stick? Because if these guys are absent and they continue earning their allowances, they will stay away. Why don't we have a method that rewards those that attend and punishes those that don't, a kind of carrot and stick?
Okay. You know, Emma, I see we are burying our heads in the sand. These members of Parliament belong to the communities. When they are being voted, they don't drop from heaven. They come from this same community. And now when you read the research presented by the team here, there are so many constituents who are saying we need to have constant contact with our legislator. So the member of Parliament is traveling between Parliament and the constituency, because there's someone who has passed on in the constituency and they want to see the member attend the burial. There's a church fundraising, there's fundraising for construction of a school. This member is part of that community, and if he doesn't attend the fundraising, they say, now this member is hiding from us, he's in Kampala. So as we have sittings of plenary, we have a member who has to sit in plenary, work with the committees. Committees of Parliament don't work only from Parliament House. They're out in the field.
Go to the locus.
There's a team in Karamoja processing a report for the next sitting of Parliament.
But that is recorded as a sitting.
Yeah, so the member will miss the House sitting, but the member is working with the committee. When the member is in the constituency, he's actually not at Parliament House. That is why in the regulations at Parliament, if a member misses 15 consecutive sittings, the Speaker has to reprimand the member. If the member cannot explain adequately where they were at the time of that sitting, the member loses a seat. 15 consecutive sittings. So the carrot and stick you're talking about, we already have a law. If you miss 15 consecutive sittings, you lose your seat, and it has happened in the past.
But it's very simple. Someone will show up on the 14th sitting. And just specifically, how come in the past people were able to attend these sessions? You mean they didn't go back to their constituencies to consult?
I think, Emma, we have...
And speak to the electorate.
Yeah, we have had changing needs of the electorate. The electorate itself is evolving. It's not what it has been in the past. Today, very many members of Parliament, especially those who have been with the 10th Parliament, have been running schemes, paying tuition for hundreds of students. Right now, the students are stuck because the member lost the seat, the member lost income, and the member cannot pay for these constituents.
Because they made these promises, and yet it's not their role.
Yes, the demands from the constituents have increased, and they have put so much pressure on the Member of Parliament. And the Member of Parliament is failing to play their cardinal role because they're playing to the tunes of the constituency. If you don't do what your voters want, they will not vote you back. It's as simple as that. So if the member decides to only attend sittings of parliament 100%, the voters will say, we voted for him, he went to parliament, he never came back to consult us. So the member now has to attend sittings of parliament, but also attend constituency events. It's a balancing act, and it's affecting their performance.
Asimwe, there's a concern that, just like the past trend, the NRM has quite a large, their numbers in parliament are extremely higher than the opposition. And when it comes to marshalling support, the NRM will simply go to the caucus, take a position, and the MPs turn out as, some kind of voting machines. And this affects the decision-making of members of parliament. Is that a concern in your view?
Yes and no. Yes, on circumstances that, one, I mean, this is what democracy is all about. The majority takes it at the end of the day. But I have seen that happen over the last 10 years that we've been watching Parliament for one or two bigger issues that requires the party to intervene. But oftentimes, issues like oversight, issues like legislation, the cardinal roles that members are supposed to play have actually gained the support from both sides, the opposition and the NRM. Yes, I mean, there's nothing much we can do about it. Even us here, if 3 of you belong to a certain party and we put a question, you will win me. It's democracy. It's nothing we can do. The only thing we can do probably as citizens, if you want to go against what the ruling party manifesto is all about, is vote otherwise. But as it is right now, I am afraid the majority takes it all.
We'll be taking a commercial break, and we're watching Citizen Voices. Thank you. Do you think it is important to educate the electorate about the role of a member of parliament? Because we see your research sometimes is at odds. The views of the electorate are at odds with what is expected or what is distinctly the role of a member of parliament.
Thank you, Emma. Yeah, I think that is really a critical thing that has to happen, because we do see throughout the data that citizens don't know what the role of the MP is. When it comes to the promises that are made to them, these are really about service delivery, yet that is not the principal role of the MP. And then when we look at how do they even get information on what is happening in Parliament, 51% say that they get this through listening to the media, then 26% word of mouth, friends and family, then others are watching news clips, others through public hearings, then about 12% say that their MP comes to brief them. So already that shows you that there is a bit of limited exposure on what the members of parliament actually do, which means that in the end, it's so easy to tell the